Lauren Park. Here's Robinson dashing in. Robinson cutting in a goal.
Larry Robinson checked Gary Dornhoefer. The hardest check I have ever seen. Larry gave Gary Dornhoefer about a couple of feet along the boards to think he could get by, and just as he tried it, Larry Robinson just hammered it. And hammer is an appropriate word because they stopped the game, and a maintenance man came out with a hammer and nailed the boards back into place. I'll never forget that. I was watching that. It was the best body check I've ever seen.
Robinson created another level. He could skate, he could move the puck, he could shoot, but he was also very physical in front of the net.
Larry was a complete player. He was a great offensive player. He was a great defensive player, good team player, and he was very tough.
The Big Bird, that's what we used to call him. He was tough defenseman.
The NHL in the 1970s was not a place for the faint-hearted. It was an era of brutal collisions, bench-clearing brawls, and raw intimidation. An era ruled by the Philadelphia Flyers, a team the world knew as the Broad Street Bullies. Yet standing against all of that chaos was one man who made even the most violent players think twice. His name was Larry Robinson. 6 feet 4 inches tall, over 225 pounds, with a plus-minus rating of positive 722, a record no player in NHL history has ever come close to matching. Not Wayne Gretzky, not Bobby Orr. As Orr himself once said, "It's too bad for anyone who decides to drop the gloves with him." To understand just how dominant Larry Robinson was, you have to start with the numbers, because the numbers are unlike anything the hockey world had ever seen before or since. The plus-minus statistic measures how many more goals a team scores compared to what they allow while a specific player is on the ice. A positive 10 is considered a strong season. A positive 30 is exceptional. Larry Robinson finished his career with a plus-minus of positive 722, the highest ever recorded in NHL history. To put that into perspective, here is how he compares to the greatest players of all time. Bobby Orr, widely regarded as the greatest defenseman who ever lived, finished with positive 582. Ray Bourque, one of the most decorated defensemen in history, reached positive 527. Wayne Gretzky, the greatest scorer the game has ever produced, sits at positive 520. Larry Robinson stands more than 200 points above all of them. In the 1976-77 season alone, Robinson posted a single-season plus-minus of positive 120, a number that modern players could not reach in their entire careers. Beyond that one statistic, Robinson scored 958 points across 1,384 regular season games, added 144 playoff points across 227 postseason games, and appeared in 20 consecutive playoff seasons, another NHL record that still stands today. Marcel Dion, the sixth highest scorer in NHL history, and a man who faced Robinson regularly, summed it up simply. If Bobby Orr was the first defenseman to dominate an entire game, then Larry Robinson was the first big man to truly control a game in his own way. And even Bobby Orr himself, when asked to compare the legendary Montreal defensive trio of Serge Savard, Guy Lapointe, and Larry Robinson, did not hesitate. They were all different and all great. But if you ask me who was the best, I would pick Robinson, because he not only had outstanding skills, he was strong as an ox, and it is too bad for anyone who decides to drop the gloves with him. In the 1970s, no player in the NHL was more feared or more hated than Dave Schultz. Known throughout the league as the Hammer, Schultz set a record that still stands today: 472 penalty minutes in a single season. He was the enforcer of the Philadelphia Flyers, and his job was simple: intimidate, dominate, and destroy the confidence of anyone who stood in his way. In 1974, During a game between the Montreal Canadiens and the Philadelphia Flyers at the Montreal Forum, a full bench-clearing brawl erupted. Schultz scanned the ice, looking for a target. He spotted Larry Robinson, still relatively young, still without a reputation as a fighter, and decided to make an example of him. It was the worst decision Schultz ever made on a hockey rink. The moment the fight began, Robinson's long reach and farm-built strength took over completely. What Schultz expected to be an easy victory turned into a one-sided demolition. Robinson landed combination after combination with precision and power that left Schultz stunned, overwhelmed, and unable to respond. When it was over, Robinson stood over him and slowly pointed toward the Philadelphia bench. A cold, wordless warning to anyone else who was thinking about stepping forward. Serge Savard, Robinson's longtime teammate, recalled the moment years later. Dave Schultz always thought he was the king of fighting until he ran into Larry. After that night, the entire Flyers team started playing a completely different kind of hockey whenever Larry was on the ice. It was the late 1970s, and Jeanette Robinson, Larry's wife, was seated in the stands near the ice at the Montreal Forum. During the game, a wayward shot from teammate Rick Chartreux left the playing surface at tremendous speed and traveled directly toward her in the crowd. Robinson was on the ice. He saw the trajectory. He did not think. He extended his bare right hand, no glove, no protection, and stopped the puck before it could reach her. The impact shattered bone. The injury left a permanent hardened lump beneath the ring finger of his right hand, a physical mark he carried for the rest of his life. And yet Robinson did not leave the ice immediately. He finished what he needed to finish before walking off to receive treatment. Dave Stubbs, a journalist who interviewed Robinson in 2017, described the moment after Robinson held out his hand. He showed me his right hand, a thick, dense lump just below the ring finger. That is the scar from protecting someone he loved with his actual flesh and bone. Robinson described it without drama. I saw the puck heading toward Jeanette. It was not a decision. It was instinct. I would rather break every bone in my hand than let her get hit in the face. Dale Hunter was one of the most notorious agitators in NHL history. He played dirty, he played mean, and he was afraid of absolutely no one. His career penalty total of 3,565 minutes speaks for itself. In the fierce rivalry between the Montreal Canadiens and the Quebec Nordiques, a series of matchups so intense it was simply called the Battle of Quebec, Hunter was exactly the kind of player who thrived on confrontation. But in one particular face-off following a rough play, something unusual happened. Hunter skated toward Robinson after a penalty, ready as always to escalate the situation. Then he looked up. He met Robinson's eyes, and he stopped. The hesitation was visible to everyone in the building. Referees moved in between the two men, not to prevent a fight, but because it was clear what would happen to Hunter if one started. A sports writer who witnessed the moment described it afterward. I had never seen Dale Hunter look at anyone with that kind of fear in his eyes. Larry Robinson did not need to throw a single punch. He just stood there and looked, and his opponent already knew he had lost. Gary Dornhofer, a former Philadelphia Flyers player who faced Robinson many times, put it plainly. Larry was not just a big man who could hit people. He was frighteningly intelligent. You could never fool him twice. In the year 2000, Robinson took over as head coach of the New Jersey Devils mid-season, inheriting a team that was underperforming and losing confidence by the week. He had no elaborate system to install overnight. What he had was something far more powerful. 20 years of reputation built on a hockey rink, and a presence that filled every room he walked into. After one particularly poor performance, Robinson entered the locker room and said nothing. He stood and looked at each player, one by one, in complete silence for 5 full minutes. No shouting, no speeches. Just the steady, unblinking gaze of a man whose hands had broken bones, silenced bullies, and lifted 6 Stanley Cup trophies as a player. The effect was immediate. The players later described the experience as suffocating, as if the air had been pulled out of the room. One member of the Devils roster recalled, "When Larry was angry, the entire room felt like it had no oxygen left in it. We were more afraid of disappointing him than we were of any fine or suspension." The New Jersey Devils went on to win the Stanley Cup that same year. Scotty Bowman, widely regarded as the greatest coach in NHL history, once said of Robinson, "Of all the defensemen I ever coached, Robinson was the one who could change the outcome of a game faster than anyone else. One body check or one breakout pass, and the opposition had already surrendered." Robinson was not feared because he was aggressive. He was feared because he was the only man with the courage and the strength to bully the bullies. Ken Dryden, his teammate and one of the greatest goaltenders in NHL history, said it best. If there was one person who redefined what a defenseman could be, it was Larry. He did not just play the game, he owned it. What do you think about Larry Robinson? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you so much.